Have you ever wondered what happens when greed takes over? This captivating African folktale explores the destructive power of unchecked ambition and its devastating consequences. Don't forget to subscribe to follow more stories that teach, touch the heart, and stay with you forever. Long ago, in the peaceful village of Umuaka, people lived small but happy lives. They planted, they harvested, they shared what they had. No one was too rich, and no one was too poor. But even in such a place, the seed of greed could find a place to grow. There was a farmer named Mazi Okeke. He was strong, quiet, and well respected. His hands were thick from digging, and his heart was known to be kind. His wife, Neka, loved him deeply. Their 2 children, Obina and Odememe, followed him everywhere. They didn't have much, but they were content. Mazi Okeke's farm was always full. Yams, cassava, okra, everything he planted grew well. Neighbors called him lucky. Some said the God smiled on him. At first, Mazi Okeke was grateful. He worked hard, gave thanks, and never asked for more than he needed. But one year, the sun refused to rest. The rains came late. Farms dried. Crops failed. Many villagers struggled. But somehow, Mazi Okeke's land still yielded food. People praised him even more. They came to ask for advice. They called him blessed. That praise stirred something inside him. One night, after a big harvest, Mazi Okeke sat outside his hut, staring at the moon. What if I had more? He whispered. What if I could buy more land, sell to the city people, build a big house with glass windows and iron gates? His wife, Neka, noticed the change. Mazi, she said softly, we are okay. Don't let greedy thoughts lead you down a bad road. But Mazi Okeke only nodded without hearing. His mind was no longer in Umuaka. It was flying. Chasing things he couldn't yet touch, but now desperately wanted. That night, he didn't sleep. He kept turning on his bamboo bed, eyes open, heart racing. Something inside him had awakened. And it wasn't joy. It was greed. The next morning, Mazi Okeke walked through his farm, but his eyes didn't see the ripe yams or the strong cassava stems. His feet touched the soil, but his heart was elsewhere. Something had shifted in him. The quiet peace he once felt had been replaced with a hunger. Not in the stomach, but in the soul. He started waking up earlier than usual, not to pray or give thanks like before, but to count how much more land he could clear. He began asking other farmers strange questions. If you had more money, what would you do? Do you think it's bad to want more or much more? The villagers noticed. Mazi Okeke is changing, they whispered. He used to be humble. Now his eyes look like someone searching for something he has no name for. His wife, Neka, watched in silence. She still cooked his food and mended his clothes, but her smile no longer reached her eyes. One evening she asked, Mazi, are we not enough for you anymore? He looked at her. For a second, he wanted to say yes. To hold her. To tell her he still loved her laugh and the way Odememe danced around the cooking fire. But instead, he said, I just want a better life. For all of us. But that wasn't the full truth. He didn't want just better. He wanted more. More than his neighbors. More than his father ever had. He wanted power. He wanted the world to know his name. That same week, something strange happened. As Mazi Okeke walked home from the bush one evening, a man appeared at the edge of the footpath. He wore a black wrapper, no shoes, and a red cloth tied around his head. His eyes were deep, like someone who had seen things no one else had. Mazi Okeke, the man called calmly. Mazi stopped. How do you know my name? The man smiled. I've heard your thoughts. Mazi's heart skipped. I have something for you, the man said, reaching into a small pouch. He pulled out a smooth, golden seed. Plant this in your field. Whatever you harvest from it, you'll never lack again. You'll be richer than chiefs. Mazi stared, wide-eyed. But there is one condition, the man added. You must give up one thing. Something close to your heart. What thing? Mazi Okeke asked, his voice dry. The man only smiled. You know when it's time. And just like that, the man disappeared into the night fog. Mazi Okeke stood frozen, the golden seed hot in his palm. Mazi Okeke didn't tell anyone about the stranger or the golden seed. Not even Neka. He hid it in a calabash inside the barn and stared at it every night. It looked like any other seed, yet it burned with something he didn't understand. Power. Promise. Danger. He tried to ignore it. He tried to pray. But each day, his desire grew louder. Just imagine, he whispered to himself one night, fields full of gold, traders begging to buy from me, men bowing as I pass. One morning before the sun rose, Mazi Okeke took the golden seed and walked to a small corner of his land, far from the eyes of the village. His hands shook as he dug a hole and dropped the seed in. He covered it gently, as if burying a secret. But as he stood up, he remembered the man's words, you must give up one thing. Something close to your heart. That night, Mazi Okeke couldn't sleep. His children, Obina and Odememe, laughed quietly in the next room. Neka hummed as she folded wrappers. Everything was normal. But his chest felt tight. The next day, strange things began to happen. The soil around where the seed was planted turned dark and rich. A thick green stem burst out by the next morning. Within a week, it had spread, strong, tall, and covered in wide leaves. Yams the size of stools began to grow from it. Chickens laid double the eggs when they pecked near it. People who passed by stopped and stared. What kind of miracle is this? One man asked. Mazi Okeke smiled but said nothing. He only said, hard work and prayers. But inside, he knew it wasn't hard work that brought this. It was the seed, and the promise that came with it. But then came the price. Odememe fell sick. It started with a small fever. Then came the shaking. Then she stopped walking. Mazi and Neka tried herbs, prayers, and even took her to the town healer, but nothing worked. Neka wept every night. Why is this happening? She cried. Mazi Okeke said nothing. But deep inside, fear began to creep in. He remembered the man's voice, something close to your heart, and then it hit him. Mazi Okeke's farm had never been more fruitful. The golden seed had spread. Yams burst from the ground like treasure. Corn stalks stood taller than men. His barn overflowed. Traders came from far-off towns, waving money and asking for more. People in the village began calling him Mazi the Wealthy. But inside his home, everything was falling apart. Odememe was no longer the bright little girl who danced and asked too many questions. She now lay in silence, her small body weak and pale. Her eyes barely opened. She didn't smile anymore. Each day, Neka fed her soft pap and cried quietly into her wrapper. Let us go and see the priest again, she begged. We've tried everything, Mazi Okeke muttered, turning away. But the truth haunted him. Every yam he sold, every coin he counted, every praise he received, it all felt like poison in his hand. He would sit in the barn, staring at his riches, but feel nothing. No peace. No joy. Just a deep emptiness. The villagers started talking. Why is Mazi so rich, but his house is full of sadness? I heard his daughter has been sick for months. No cure. Maybe he did something. Even his son, Obina, began to stay quiet around him. Neka stopped speaking unless necessary. Their home, once filled with laughter, was now full of silence and sorrow. One afternoon, as Mazi Okeke walked through the market, a woman spat near his feet. "Your child is dying, and you're still counting money," she hissed. He didn't reply. He couldn't. Later that night, Mazi knelt in front of Odememe's mat. He touched her hand, it was cold. He broke down. "I didn't know," he cried. "I didn't know you would be the price." But the room gave no answer. In his desperation, he went back to the farm, to the very spot where he had planted the seed. He knelt and dug with his hands, tearing at the roots. "Take it back," he shouted. "I don't want it anymore." But the ground remained still. The golden seed had already done its work. And Mazi Okeke, once the most content man in Umuaka, was now the richest and the most broken. Mazi Okeke no longer went to the market. He no longer smiled when people greeted him. His barns were full, but his heart was empty. Every time he looked at his wealth, he remembered Odememe's soft breathing and lifeless eyes. Her laugh, once so bright, now haunted his dreams. One morning, before the sun rose, he packed a small bag and left the village. He walked through forest, crossed streams, and asked every old man he met about the stranger in the black wrapper. Most shook their heads. Some warned him. "You played with powers you do not understand," one said. Still, Mazi Okeke searched. After days of walking, tired and hungry, he finally found an old shrine deep in the forest. A blind priest sat beside it, his eyes white like ash. "I've been waiting for you," the priest said calmly, as if he had seen Mazi long before he arrived. Mazi Okeke dropped to his knees. "Please, tell me what to do. I didn't mean to hurt my daughter." The priest touched the soil. "Greed speaks in promises, but it takes without mercy. You asked for more, and more was given. But something must always be taken." Mazi wept. "Can I undo it?" The priest shook his head slowly. "Even the river cannot carry water back to its source." "Then what can I do?" Mazi whispered. "Go back," the priest said. "Not to reclaim, but to surrender." Mazi Okeke returned home with heavy feet and a broken heart. When he entered his compound, he saw Obina sitting alone, drawing circles in the dust. Neka was inside, beside Odememe's mat. She didn't wake up when he touched her cheek. She didn't smile when he whispered her name. He sat beside her, holding her tiny hand until it slipped from his grip. That night, Mazi did what no one expected. He gathered his wealth, bags of yam, bundles of cash, bales of grain, and gave it all away. To widows. To orphans. To the sick. He gave until there was nothing left. Then he walked to the very field where it had all started. He burned it. Flames rose high into the dark sky. The villagers watched in silence. Some cried. Some prayed. The man who had once planted greed now planted grief. The flames had long gone out, but the memory of the fire stayed in Umuaka. Mazi Okeke no longer had riches. No farm. No barn. No crowds calling his name. He lived quietly in a small hut at the edge of the village with Neka and Obina. He spent most days sitting under the old mango tree, carving wooden toys for the village children or helping elders carry loads from the stream. No one mocked him. No one praised him. They simply watched and remembered. Children whispered his story at night like a warning. He was the richest man in Umuaka, but he lost the one thing he loved most. Mothers told their daughters, "Be content with what you have." Fathers warned their sons, "Greed wears a smile, but its teeth are sharp." Mazi Okeke never spoke of the golden seed again. He didn't have to. His life had become the story. One day, the village elders gathered the children under the iroko tree. The air was cool, and birds chirped above. "Do you know why Mazi Okeke burned his field?" one elder asked. A small girl raised her hand. "Because it gave him money, but it took his daughter." "Yes," the elder nodded. "And because wealth without peace is a curse." The children nodded. Some sat in silence, thinking about all the things they once wanted: new clothes, big shoes, shiny toys. That day, they learned that the richest man is not the one with the biggest house or the fullest barn, but the one who sleeps with a quiet heart. Mazi Okeke lived the rest of his days simply, humbly, and quietly. He never laughed the same again, but he found peace. A kind of peace that can only come after losing everything, and still choosing to give back. And when he died, the village didn't bury him with riches. They buried him with respect. Moral of the story: greed may promise the world, but it always takes more than it gives. True wealth is not in money or possessions, but in love, contentment, and peace of mind. If this story touched your heart, please, do not forget to subscribe for more powerful African folktales that teach, heal, and stay with you. The end.